Welcome to the second Chicago CNG webinar. So as you know, unfortunately, can't see everyone in person, but it's kind of nice that we can still have this connection and webinars and things like this. So a couple just overviews. If you could keep yourself on mute, and then if you want to go ahead and turn off your video camera, that way only the speakers are the ones that are being seen, and we don't have any problems with any of the muting and talking over. If you want to see the speaker view, in the top corner, there should be a little, almost like ball, 3 dots. You can choose what kind of speaker or how you want to see what thing is, but I'm going to be sharing my screen, and then I will be throwing it over to Dennis at one point that he will be showing his. So first off, we want to say thank you to all of our fantastic sponsors. They're great, you know, even when we're doing the webinars, they're still helping us out. We have two things, and our main sponsor for today is BTL, which I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Barry Porter. So he's going to do a little thing. Barry, just let me know. I have your hold on, I want to make sure I'm sorry. I have your thing, so just tell me when to go. And I'm going to throw it to you. So go ahead. I'm going to unmute you so you can. There you go.
Thanks, Erin. Good morning, everyone. The slides are very short. First of all, we're delighted that the CNG are able to continue these sessions, albeit virtually. I was thinking yesterday, in terms of the last time I travelled anywhere, it was 237 days. I was in Denver for an item writing event, and it's incredible just how much 8 months have passed, and we haven't had the opportunity to be sort of face to face. I look forward to reconvening in Chicago or Washington. So I congratulate CNG on continue this, and I'm really pleased that everyone's still contributing. The speakers that we got involved today and everyone that's attending will be continue to be engaged. So that's great. Erin, if you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide.
Okay.
Thank you. So all I thought I'd do is just provide a quick update in terms of what we've been doing over the last 6 months. I think Gabby spoke at the last event. So I think for us as an e-assessment platform provider, one of the biggest things is obviously the remote proctoring side. Has it gone through the roof what we thought? Probably not. But what we've certainly seen is a huge interest in that as an alternative way of delivery. We're all pleased that test centres are opening their doors, whether it's partially or fully, to some of the test centres, which is great news for everyone. Well, we've continued to work on ways that we can support teams remotely. That's always been a very key part of the platform that we work on. We worked with NBME and Prometric on the introduction of tasks for committee members to work on item writing and assigning tasks to their team. And that's been working really well, and we've seen a wider adoption of that. And then also coming soon, we've got the introduction of standard settings functionality of essentially defining cut scores within Surpass. So that's new functionality we're coming up. So we're continuing to find ways that we can support people with the use of technology, which over the last 8 months we've all been very much dependent on. And so we're trying to find ways that we can support the users in their day-to-day jobs, which ordinarily they'll be in meetings and in their offices. Everyone's at home, obviously. Erin, if you wouldn't mind moving on to the next one. I just we're proud of this. Whilst we haven't been in the office as teams, we've done a great amount of work within the product, and we've been recognised for this. I mean, the Queen's Award may not mean very much over in the US, but it's a very prestigious award in the UK, and we are UK based, but we have a North American office here in Pennsylvania. And so we're delighted that it was recognised for the most prestigious, for the Queen's Award for Enterprise, and as I said, it's the most prestigious award in the UK. But also a number of Stevie Awards that we got awarded this year.
Sounds like. There we go.
We're good.
I think so. I'm sorry, I'm going to mute everyone and then unmute you. There you go, Barry. Go ahead.
Thanks, Erin. So, I just wanted to, we're very proud of our team that contributes to the work as a pass. And so, I just wanted to share the fact that we've done some great work within the product and we're being recognized within the industry for it as well. So it's good. I won't say anything more about that. We just like to promote the stuff that we do. The final slide, Erin, if you don't mind. And I think this is one where this is one of the reasons why we really like the Certification Network Group. We see a lot of similarities in the work that we do here and to the conference that we run every year. It's actually running as we speak in parallel. So we're running a conference today, tomorrow, and Thursday. You've got a fantastic session here. But what we've done is we're running this remotely this week. Normally we're in all different wonderful locations around the UK. We're supposed to be in Liverpool this one, but it's all gone remote. So today, tomorrow, and Friday we're doing 9 till 12 EST, and everyone's welcome. It's like a ticketed conference thing, but essentially, if anybody's interested in Surpass, and more importantly, if anybody just has an interest in what's going on both sides of the water in terms of the assessment sector, then you'd be very welcome to join. It's free of charge to join. You can contact me if anybody is interested in a promotional code for it, and I'll just hook you up with tickets to attend. You don't have to attend the whole thing. It's essentially there are sessions running throughout the morning, different user groups, sessions you can engage with, sessions you can just watch, and it'll all be available after the conference as well. So so it's one of those events where the community that we promote comes together, and it discusses important points that are going on, and we try and figure out how we might address those and how we might introduce change into the product and into the way that we work. So that's all I want to say. I appreciate the slot to promote Surpass. We look forward to getting back face to face with everyone. And with that, Erin, that's all I wanted to say, and have a great event today.
Great, thank you so much, Barry. Just a reminder, if you guys could just make sure you are on mute and turn off the camera. And I want to welcome everyone to our first series of opportunity for creating the COVID divide in this chaotic world. Christine, my co-chair Jen, and some of the community members got together, and we thought that really something would be beneficial for everyone is creating almost a COVID series, kind of the credentialing value in this COVID world. So this is our first. Like I said, it's unfortunate we can't be in person, but with webinars, we certainly can maybe do some smaller sessions, record them, and people can use them a little bit more of a learning aspect. And with this, I want to just say things that if you have any questions, try to use that chat function. And if you could, put your questions in all caps, and we will try to get to all of them and make sure that everyone is able to get their answers. That I'm going to introduce our lovely moderator, Christine, who was our moderator last time. I'm sure everyone does. She did such a fantastic job. I said, you must come back. And she is I'm going to hand it off to her and introduce our speakers, and we'll get this session going. And go ahead, Christine, you are unmuted.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erin. So welcome to the first in our series of how credentials can close the COVID divide. And with the COVID divide, one of the outcomes is an economic divide in the workforce that disproportionately affects the growing minority of workers. And these workers are finding themselves in industries that may not bounce back to their pre-COVID employment levels. So we believe there's a role that credentialing can play in assisting workers to find and qualify for jobs to help close this gap and to create opportunities for credentialing organizations to step up to this social and economic challenge. So added to this is the reality that credentialing may not be providing professional and learning opportunities for stakeholders to qualify for and maintain their credentials. So technology can help to fill this void and revamp learning and business models for credentialing organizations. So to address today's topic, we have two presenters. We have Dr. Royce Swift, who's the Executive Director of WorkCred. And we have Mr. Dennis Glenn, President of Dennis Glenn LLC. So Royce Swift will present several WorkCred studies related to how the certification community must become more involved in workforce issues. So to enhance their value and help close the gap, certification organizations must demonstrate that they are a viable solution to help workers gain employment and or maintain employment. So a pressing outcome from COVID is the interest and need for industry to find shorter credentialing pathways to upskill their new workforce. Followed by Roy Swift, Mr. Dennis Glenn will address the shift in tools and the shift toward employee-centric design, moving from instructional design to experience design to more quickly acquire competencies. This shift in approach is critical to developing the shortest pathway for workers to gain employment. Dennis will present tools utilizing augmented reality, interactive and hands-on training methodologies that credentialing organizations can quickly and at a low cost develop in the form of micro-credential applications. So now I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Roy Swift.
I unmuted myself, and thank you, Christine, for always doing such a terrific job. A colleague of mine for many, many years, and one that I respect and really welcome whenever I can work with Christine. And Aaron, I just want to thank CNG for inviting me again. You had the nerve to invite me back. To talk about something that I'm very passionate about, and many of the people who know me know I don't do anything without passion, and certainly today I will plead with you passionately about kinds of things that need to go on. But you're to be congratulated. CNG is very professional, very organized, and we need more CNGs in this country like this. And I think that, in fact, there is many other things that CNG maybe could work toward because you are such an excellent organization. So thanks for doing that for the profession, the certification community, and for those of us who are involved. I really appreciate it because it's very much needed. Certification is something that everybody is talking about this day outside the certification community, whether you know it or not. Certification can replace licensure. State licensure is one of the assertions by the Brookings Institute, which is one of the big think tanks in Washington, D.C. Certification can now count toward post-secondary education as a legitimate credential decreed by Lumina Foundation, a multi-billion-dollar foundation in higher education. Certification is a hot topic. Unfortunately, most of the people talking about it outside certification really don't know anything about certification. They do not understand the rigor and the scientific basis of which certification is done. And then we are part of the problem, as I've told you the last time I was with, that we hide our light under the bushel basket. And frankly, we need to take that basket off and show the certification light to the workforce world that we are part of the solutions for looking at this. And so that's why I'm going to start the presentation today talking about some of the issues that are occurring in the workforce. Next, Darren. We'll be talking about the current state of the workforce. And as you know, unemployment rate has been way up, and now it's down, and it may go way up again. People are unemployed, and people need jobs. And frankly, certification is one of the ways in which people maybe can re-enter the workforce in a more quickly way. Next, Darren. More than 55 million Americans have filed for unemployment insurance. And even though it is down somewhat, it will probably rise again. And frankly, unemployment is going to do it. And frankly, people do not feel very good about being on unemployment, in spite of some of the public press that we hear about people saying, well, they can get more money with unemployment insurance than some of the jobs, which is true, but nobody feels good about saying that they're strictly on unemployment for the most part. Next. One of the things that we are learning, and unfortunately, many of the recent research is coming outside of the certification community, which is good and bad. Good that people are paying attention and they are including it in some of their research. Bad in that, frankly, the certification community, we should be more directed toward creating the research project ourselves and making sure that the quality of the research says something. One of the things that Strata learned, was that 1/3 of individuals in the workforce believe they will need additional education and skills to provide comparable employment if they lose their jobs. But not only additionally, but losing it and finding good jobs. And because now certification is considered one of the legitimate credentials, which is sort of funny in some respects that we had to get legitimacy from an outside organization, that certification is now seen as one of the solutions of looking at bringing people in the shortest pathway possible to obtain skills that would be recognized by employers with certifications in this regard. Next. So 35% of adults are planning to change careers if they lose their jobs. This is very significant, and this is a statistic that we in certification should be thinking about. If people are changing careers, we may have the certification that would get them the closest pathway to getting a job. But of course, we in the certification community would have to find those adults, help them understand what they would need in order to qualify for these certifications. But that's maybe a new kind of a role for certification these days in this very extensive pandemic arena. And frankly, most people think things will not go back to normal, and that this is one of the things we're going to have to look. And we know that the vulnerable industries in this country really deal with retail, hospitality, entertainment, these kinds of things. And those people bring various skills that may relate to a certification in your particular area, but they would be able to have to understand what the gap is in order to really achieve it. Next. One of the other interesting statistics, and this is one that WorkCred and I'll be talking about a project that we're involved in that deals with this. 36 million people hold some post-secondary education and training, but did not complete it and no longer are enrolled. Most people started out in post-secondary education, as you can see by that blue line there, in their 20s, and then never went back. They maybe take it to a few courses. They may took a year in this regard. The typical median age of people going back and trying to do something to get a post-secondary is like 39 and 42, and 51% are women. But only 10% are really taking this initiative of the original people who have dropped out. We need to be sure to begin looking at that population as to how we can help resolve this issues in this regard. Next. And so certifications in the current state of the workforce, the pandemic has created an economic and social divide that disproportionately affects workers and industries that may not bounce back to previous employment levels. And frankly, when you look at all the money that's available from the government, federal and state government, the foundations, it's all about looking at the disadvantaged populations. That's where the money is going these days. Whoever has solutions for these problems will get the money, so to speak. So this is something that we should be thinking about also, because we have an answer for those disadvantaged populations with our particular thing. Certifications can assist workers in finding jobs. And this is an opportunity for the certification bodies to help individuals and employers, people who need to upskill as well. Next. So the role of certifications. So next. You've seen this slide before. I presented this to you the last time, and I still believe it, that we have to work on this, that the certification community often asks as a planet unto itself. We talk to each other beautifully. We have our ATPs, we have our ICEs, we have our CNGs, but we talk to one another. One of the issues of bringing the visibility and that certification is the solutions is not talking to ourselves, but talking to policymakers, talking to employers, talking to state officials, talking to universities in this regard. This will be a repeated subject of mine as I continue here, and hopefully I do not go over, and I have to keep going here. Thanks. Next. So we need to be part of the credentialing ecosystem that looks at continuing education, looks at micro-credentials, looks at degrees, looks at apprenticeships, all the different types of credentials that are occurring. And believe me, the people like the Googles, the people that are creating in the for-profit world credentials saying they can do it better, cheaper, and more effectively than the current credentials out there. That is probably the threat if we don't act more and talk more to the outside world. Next. So the value of certifications. Again, this is research that Lumina funded and to, I believe it was a Gallup survey to individuals. And again, it's terrific information for us, but we should be doing it, is my point too. So workers with certifications they found in these Gallup polls. Now remember, this is the public we're talking about. No, I mean, it is scientific, but we're talking about people's attestation, what they say. And so those of you who are in research know that, there are problems with this type of stuff, but for the most part, it gives us an indication that we should be taunting, is the workers with certifications are more likely to see their job as a career, 54%, than those without certification, 30%. That is critical, because one of the things that the administration is doing, the Department of Labor, the Department of Education, they all say we have to change the focus in the workforce community from getting a job to looking at careers. They don't like the idea of people getting jobs that are dead end and they can't go anywhere. So this is really important. That's the people who hold a certification feel that it is a mechanism to a career orientation. Then workers with certifications are more likely than those without certifications to say they're expected to be creative or innovative in their jobs, 58% versus 43%. This is also critical, because what is industry saying? Industry says, I need technical skills, but I also need people who can critically problem solve, who are innovative in their thinking. In fact, people who take entrepreneurship type courses, even though they may not develop their own business, those are the people that industry is looking for these days, because they are considered the ones that can be creative and do. So to say that people who come with certifications, maybe irregardless of what the certification's in, if they feel and have the confidence to be creative and innovative in their jobs, boy, that is a really selling point for certification in this country. Next. So adults without a degree who hold a certificate or certification have higher full-time employment rates than the peers with no credentials, have a median annual income of $45,000 compared to $30,000 for those without a credential, and they perceive their educational paths as more valuable and more likely to recommend them to others than those without a credential. Next. So here, I could actually have done this slide and nothing else. And I think it would have set up a good discussion. And in fact, as I went through these slides again this morning, I'm thinking, gee, we could have an all-day workshop where we develop an action plan around these variables that I've just listed on there. And so we should think about whether that is something people would be interested in. The confusion about terminology. You will not believe my simple little video that I just did on what is the difference between a certificate, a certification, and a license. It has gone viral. It's gone viral. People all over the country are wanting to use it in courses. It's simplistic, folks. We've known it for a long, long time, but the outside world hasn't. And they are very confused. And this is very important because of employers. When employers are confused about what they're receiving, then this is a problem. So this is one area that we need to, all of us must take responsibility in helping people understand those differences. Equity, I talked about earlier, that equity is the ding-dong word of the year and probably the next 2 years. Ways in which we can help disadvantaged groups. That's the people who are going to get money to help solve those solutions. Fast pathways to employment. People don't want to wait a year and get a degree in order to find a job. And even the short-term certificates in higher education are ones that take time. They need fast, but they need credentials that have transparency, that tells the employer what it is a person can do. We need to unbundle. I know Christine has talked about micro-credentials and had some of her presentations, but I think that's what we're going to have to be looking at because President Trump just issued, not just, it was a couple of months ago, a decree for the federal agencies. They are to move away from degree-type hiring to skill-based hiring. This is critical. The certification community could help with that because I have been working with the HR department and the Department of Education, and they say one of the things we're going to have to look at is what are the assessments to assess skills. If we're going to assess people by skills versus degrees, we don't have the tools to really do that. So we're going to have that. Regional accepted credentials. Sometimes there are regional effects, like the people in Chicago or Illinois. There may be specific things that can help with the employment issue in that regard. We don't always have to be thinking nationally. And of course, we continually hear, and I know that the certification community pushes back on this thought, but the employers really are wanting to see how we can connect technical skills with employability skills. The team building, the critical thinking, the problem solving, the interpersonal relations kind of thing, because they feel that without both of them together, we don't have a successful employee many times. And then the upskilling. People are going to have to upskill because their jobs and the technology is happening so fast within where they currently work. There is a need for upskilling bundles in this regard. And ongoing consistent feedback from the employers. That's good, and you're pushing me, because I know I'm going to be on the edge of time here. Go ahead, Aaron, next. So the future will hold increased demand for integrated models of learning, degrees embedded with certifications, work-based learning, boot camps, and it doesn't have to be the traditional boot camps. We could rethink what boot camps are, certification boot camps in this regard. Next. So what are we doing specifically, WorkRed, in regard to these ideas? And so next. Okay, one of our current projects is we call the WorkCred Voluntary Data Sharing Network. And some of you who are on this phone call today are involved in this project, and which we are exceptionally grateful, and we're always looking for more people to join this project. This project is not for the weak at heart, because this project deals with sharing data with outside agencies, and we're talking about individual data in this regard. And so that immediately brings the red flag up for you. Oh my God, no, we can never share this sort of thing. Well, higher education's been sharing it for years. This particular project is working with the National Student Clearinghouse. They have 97% of the higher education data in their database since 1993. It is a clearinghouse to look at what are the successful career pathways. They're also working with the National Manufacturing Institute. And now they've included the US Census Bureau and the IRS section data to begin trying to connect credentials and pathways and earnings in this regard. The current database with National Student Clearinghouse only has higher education, but higher education does include certificates as well as degrees. It involves community colleges. There is some K through 12 data also. And the purpose of this is to begin looking at what are the successful pathways. It is an opportunity for certification to begin having third-party data say how valuable certifications are, because integrating the certification data in with all of this other data, there's like 3,800 types of organizations that contribute data to the National Student Clearinghouse in this regard, and they have millions and millions of bits of information. But it will help us look that is a successful pathway only having a certification and a degree, a certificate and certification, only a certificate in this regard. It will be the third-party data that will help inform policymakers at the federal and state level, as well as the employment community, the industry community, as well as people who are trying to figure out what kind of a career pathway they want to be in this regard. So we are very excited about this project. It's not, like I said, for the weak at heart, because it is trying to figure out how you share data in this regard. And we did a little survey of the 30 organizations that have been involved with this. And Aaron, next. And one of the things that we note is that, for the most part, people are not particularly afraid to give credential, name, last name, when the credential was awarded. But interestingly enough, people weren't that excited about getting first name, and they particularly weren't interested in sharing birth date, and then most people don't collect it. And credential purpose for some reason. I'm not sure. This is an area that I think certification community, we've got to start looking at. We have never looked at who's collecting what data. And now data is going to be extremely important for everyone. Next. We also looked at what additional type of data that might be good. And frankly, full address except the zip code was not bad. And then previous first name certainly was all right, but middle name, middle initials, and for some reason zip code didn't seem to be one that people really wanted to collect, and either collect or share, actually. Next. And then additional data to support this. It's interesting, the name of the previous educational institution, and the reason that National Student Clearinghouse was interested in this data, but not required, is that the connection between certifications and any formal education thing. And then certainly only email, and they're inclined to do, but cell phone number, because it's so personal, I think, certainly people weren't that interested. Next. And here's one that I'm very concerned about, because these are areas which people don't necessarily are very interested in collecting. And yet, I don't understand why we aren't, because many times we're supposed to be determining whether we're discriminating in our examinations in these various areas. And also, you know, if we have a disability, then it has to be formally recognized through a formal process, through ADA requirements. And so this is one that kind of concerns me, but people are very skittish about these arenas. Next. Okay, the second project that I want to talk about is we have been involved in a major project with APLU, the American Public and Land Grant Universities, the Coalition of Urban Serving Universities, and the UPSEA, which is the University Professional Continuing Education Association. And the purpose of this grant that we got from Lumina Foundation, by the way, the other one is also a Lumina grant, was to see and look at the possibility of how we can better integrate certification in bachelor's degrees. As you know, of all the degrees, bachelor's degree may be the weakest, even weaker than the community college degree, because sometimes community colleges have more earnings than people who earn bachelor's degrees. So we think that certification can give legs and strength to bachelor's degrees. And frankly, we think in general, the integration of credentials is probably a better way of looking at the career pathways of tomorrow in this regard. We had 5 convenings. Actually, one got canceled, but we did it in healthcare. We did it in manufacturing. We did it in liberal arts. How can we improve the liberal arts major with a certification? And we found there are many certifications that may relate to the biology major, the chemistry major, the language major, the English major, frankly, lots. And there were, you know, as you can imagine, the liberal arts people, 50% said, no, we just help people think. We're not interested in looking at jobs. And then the other 50% said, no, we really want to give legs to liberal arts education. And then the other one was cybersecurity, which we did at San Jose State University, where Silicon Valley. They were very receptive to this concept. And actually, all of those convenings, and the one we didn't have, but we got positive feedback from, was hospitality, where the 5s. We are now we're about to write the final report. We are about to go to phase 2, recommend a phase 2 to Lumina, where we would test models of certification university pathways. If you are interested in this and being considered in a phase 2 model with a university, please contact me also. This is a very important project and probably has gotten the most visibility and the most positive comments of anything we've ever done at WorkCred in regard to that. Next. And so the key themes from the project of this phase 1 is that certification bodies and universities gain knowledge and better understanding. We had to spend the first half day of the day and a half understanding language. They had certification had to explain their language. Universities had to explain their language before they could even start talking. So we saw that as just a positive in itself, that, gee, at the end of the day, they understood one another. Fostering an emerging community of practice between universities. The end result, there is a positive. Universities want to do this. They just don't know how to do it. And develop a framework that identifies certification degree pathways, challenges and opportunities, and that's what we're going to work on in this phase 2. Identify value propositions for students Why do this? We think it's better outcomes. And of course, universities are accredited and they're looked at their outcomes. And we think certification can help them with their outcomes and their accreditation of universities. And discover examples of partnerships between. And we know there's a lot going on, actually. We found that out, but there needs to be more. Aaron, next. And so the third study that we're doing is manufacturing research. We're going into manufacturers, and it's a sociological model. Our first survey said, we think credentials are all right, but we really value experience over credentials. And so now we're going to do a sociological model where we're going to interview people who have credentials in manufacturing, their supervisor and the hiring authority, and try to triangulate that data to determine what credentials are effective and why, and what future credentials need to be developed in the manufacturing world. It's a very intense study. The first time that a sociological model where we go in and actually evaluate things. And so I'm very excited. It's pioneer research for that in that regard. Next. And we're very happy. Here's an example, and we try to be a role model for you in working with us. And one of the, you noticed in the other one, APL, the American Public and Land Grant Universities, we have a great relationship with now. We have developed a terrific relationship with the National Governors Association, and we just put out a major guideline to all the states that's co-branded WorkCred and NGA. And I'm so proud of this because this is how we're going to have to tie certification. We need to be in that governor's office and we need to be talking to these people because they can then make things happen through their policies. And the recommendations out of this paper that we just sent out is develop standardization definitions of different types, understand access quality, what is quality credential, and ensure that non-degree credentials are accepted as college credit and embedded in degrees. If you're interested in that paper, I'm sure, Aaron, I could give it to you and it could be sent out to everybody. It's public information in this regard, but I'm very proud, and it's an example of thinking outside the box and thinking outside the certification community. Next. The future is now. It's not tomorrow, it's now. Next. And it's a call to action, really. And it will take not this session to do this, but if you wish to have a further session, because anybody who would like to join the projects I mentioned, we would love to hear from you. The more certification bodies we can get involved, the better. We want to have you work closely with the universities that you may be affiliated with, either through your industry or in your region, for that matter, and figure out what kind of model could be worked out, which would be good for you and increase your market, as well as strengthen the university. Reach out to industry beyond the job analysis. Sometimes we just talk to employers when the job analysis is done, or you're setting a standard, a cut score, things like that. We need to have relationships with industry beyond that. Establish relationship with state officials, and I just talked about that. And I don't know whether many of you are aware that each state has an eligible trainer provider list with certifications are eligible to be on. And if you're on that list, people who want to get that credential are eligible for federal funds through the state in this regard. So these are 5 areas that I think we could work on as a certification community. I hope that I have stimulated thinking and frankly prodded you enough that we can do further actions for the future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roy. So much incredible information. So now I'd like to turn this over to Dennis, and Aaron and Dennis, if you can exchange control, we'll pull up Dennis's virtual reality.
Dennis, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you the hosting privileges. So everyone will be seeing Dennis's screen.
Great. Thank you.
You should have all the privileges, Dennis. Now you can share us whatever you want. It's in your hands.
Whoop. I think you can see my screen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
And you see this mess in front of you. Is that correct?
That is. You're going to explain that mess to us, though.
All right. So let me tell you what we've. Following Roy is one of the most difficult things I've had to do in my lifetime. But what he's done is he has given you data that is the critical thing in this whole thing. And this and so what I do is I build tools that is based on data, information that researchers or people do. And the thing that comes to my mind first off is, what job do we need? What's the value proposition that we need to create? This COVID thing has rapidly, the whole model of education has changed now dramatically. So we need to have, excuse me for using my hands, I got to stop this, my Italian background is coming through. The importance of this is that everything now has to be learner-centered. There's no time that we need to be able to give people feedback at the right time when they need it. So learning now is experiential. And as Roy delineated, that it was that we need to have skills, mastery of tasks. That's what people are looking for now. So let me go forward here and show you what we've done. And by the way, what's really important is that I have a couple people that work with me, Ryan Sizemore and Jonathan Glenn. By the way, I don't know if his name is for the same reason. His last name is mine, but it's we're related, so it's okay. But the great thing about this is that they can build tools that help us solve this problem. So what you see now is no more PowerPoint presentations. This is the way that you can, the viewer, the user self-directs their learning, and they use it. So what I've done is I've created a little museum here. And so I have all the things that you need to do. This is interactive. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous here, so I'm a little, but all of the things that you need to have here is, so this is the entrance roll. And so let me go forward and just show you what we're going to walk through this museum in. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to see 3 solutions, actual, very low-cost solutions to building self-directed learning that give instant feedback, that are experiential, and they learn. So in other words, they can master a task. This is the critical thing. How do we master a task? And it's cheap and it's not expensive to do. And in the workshops that I've actually created, that I've given at the University of Wisconsin and at the Serious Play Conference, is that people can do these things in 20 minutes. You could build a task in 20 minutes and then publish it, and I'll show you how to do that right away. So we're going to walk through this museum, and we're going to go to the interactive learning environment. And so here is an augmented reality app for nursing SCTs. She gets her new patient. She has to do what we call a cognitive warm-up on the machine and do a simulation of the surgery. So she now has a 3D interactive application where she can go and set up the surgical procedure on the machine, run the tests, and then get feedback as to whether it was set up correctly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this very quickly, and everything that you see here, by the way, is, in other words, I can go up to this and I can click on it if I want. And this is what augmented reality does, is it allows you to go into an environment, see something you want, and then you can click on it and, whoops, I'm sorry, and it leads you right away to wherever it was that you were dealing with. So you get the information that you need in the environment that you're in. So let me go back to our room here, and we're going to move on. If I can, I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to do this very slow. Oh, wait a second. I didn't want to do that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. I apologize. So I'm walking up to things that I'm really interested in. So this is a critical thing. This is the difference between micro learning and macro learning. And that's what we're talking about, is that micro learning tasks are really easy to create, but they answer the question is, I need help now. I need it in 3 minutes. I need it in 5 minutes. I need it between when I can, at my lunch hour or my coffee break or whatever it is. But the interesting thing is that I don't have 6 months to get this knowledge. I need it right away. So it's the tools and the samples that we need to be able to deliver. So the key thing is, as we go through this, and the other thing is that how many of you have played a game on your computer? Okay, so what's happened is that this is a tremendous growth area. People are used to playing games. They love playing games. They get the feedback from the games. That's the key. And the thing is that they're even willing to risk losing just so that they. So this is a tremendous area that we need to be able to work with to be able to create these environments. So, and by the way, this is all research that's available to you. Just clicking on any of these. So this is the key slide that I think is important. And the nice thing about these slides is that I can go walk up to them and get the information and point out the information right away. So 41% of the people are overwhelmed, but in a typical work week, 1% of the time is all we have for focus on training and development. Now, we're not supposed to use the word training. We're supposed to be learning and assessment, I'm sorry. But I stole this from Deloitte, so forgive me for that. So here we come up to our first inexpensive app. So here we are. The instructions say, hit F. Hold on, I'm getting there. I apologize. I am so nervous that this is not like me. Okay, so here we are. We now have a machine that we can manipulate. We can see all the things. We can learn. We can check all the controls. We can put in any of this information. So now what we have is we've created an environment where people can actually, they're not watching a movie, they actually touch it. We're doing multi-sensory learning. That's the key here. Multi-sensory learning. That's what experiential learning is all about. So this, I'm going to show you how you can do this. So we're going to go over here and we're going to go to an app. And here is Sketchfab. And they have 4 million three-dimensional models that are available for you. Some of them are free. Some of them are this one's $20. I paid for it. And it's just, it gives you an example that you can manipulate this thing, put in links to whatever you want, and so that people can explore experientially what it is that they need to do. And so I just want you to know that you can open this project and click on it. And I'm going to try this and show you what it is. There's a lot of bandwidth going on here, but and that's because my wife is also here at our home doing her home, her telehealth. So here we have a project that we can go in and manipulate and add in whatever we want in terms of links, all kinds of things. I can upload it. Hang on, whoop. Well, I don't want it, but anyways, this is fabulous, Sketchfab. The link is available. It's in the slides. You'll be able to go to it and play with it and see what it's like to create your own environments with, I mean, I can't tell you how many thousands of things that are available, millions of things that are available that you can use. Here's another tool that I found that I stole from Stanford University. It's the business model canvas. And I don't know if you've ever had to see what it is, but it's a way, it asks all the questions that you need to rapidly build these learning environments. And so it asks all the questions you want to have. Is it the value propositions, the customer relationships, the segments, the resources that you need, who are your key partners, the channels, even the how to build the cost structure and the revenue stream. So I'm going to show you that we're looking at here. We want to know what the value propositions is. What are the key activities? Because that is what I need to know to build the tools. And so you get a chance to use this model and you can share it with all of your team to come up with all of the things that you need to do before you actually build something. This allows you to rapid prototype your learning environment. And so, okay, so now we're going to go to another tool. This is RISE, Articulate RISE. You've heard of Articulate 360. The great thing about this is they realized that it was difficult for people to build things easily. This program comes with all different kinds of templates, and you just put the stuff in the template. So I'm going to left click on this and open up one of the, I built something really quick for you. So this is, can you see the course, Christine? Yes?
Yes, I can. I just had to unmute. Yep.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to start the course. So what I was able to do in this program, in 20 minutes, build a device where you go in and you learn all the different things that you want to do. You can add all kinds of materials within these links, including videos. And then what happens is that this took me 20 minutes to build, and then I build a questions and answers on the various things. So here's select the O2 flush. Did you guys know which one it is, Christine? Did you see that? No, you didn't see that. So I'm going to
I
pick
can
one.
see that. It's number one.
Okay. So I'm going to submit this. And what happens is that even though we picked the wrong one, we can give them feedback. And what we've discovered is that people actually go back to, because there's no grade, where they want to know what some of the answers are, even though they picked the wrong one. So I can go back in and I can take it again and I can get the right answer, I think. And I did get the right one. And so now I know what pressure I need to set this at. This is a fabulous program. And the other thing is that you instantly can share it with people and your team and get feedback on it. And they even have, when you go into the program, you get, you can do this without, and then you can post it to your LMS or to where it is. You can send it in by an email. And so what you have when you download the slides is that you will be able to see this instantly and go in and get this. And you can try the program for 30 days or whatever. Okay, so now I got to get out of some of these things because I'm having low bandwidth. Bear with me. Hang on. Okay, so now we're going to go through this, and I'm going to show you a couple, just a little more information. This is all in, so these are corporate examples of people who are leading in the field in this area that Roy has expressed. And I want you to know about it. So I stole something from Roy, which is really critical, and he talks about this, is that what we need is online micro-credentials, digital learning at work. This is really important, and that they have three distinct elements: a standardized exam, which we can do easily, a recertification requirement, and the ability of awarding a body of, to revoke the, okay, well, anyways, but what we, to prove incompetence, what we want to do is we want to prove mastery. And that's what micro-learning tasks allow these people to do. So I'm going to go on to, this is really important. So what's happened? The universities, Roy's dealing with the universities. The universities are slow to react to this, but Google isn't. Google, are you still seeing me, Christine?
Yeah, we can see the Google.
Okay, good. Because I keep getting this thing about low bandwidth. But the Google is now providing certificates with no prior education for $49 a month. You can take as much as you want, and you can get their certification for Google for dealing with, so effectively replaced a 4-year college degree with a lean 3 to 6 month program, and it only takes 5 hours a week. This is your competition. This is what's going on today. This is the critical thing, is universities are slow to react to this. If you go, and I have some links here. There's an evolution on higher education, and all they do is talk about it, is what are we going to do? How do we do this? So many years ago, Christensen wrote a book on disruptive education, and he predicted that 30 to 50% of all universities are going to go out of business shortly. Well, we're seeing that happen right now. There may not be so many, but this is, somebody asked a question. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I'll come back to that in a minute. So here is a link to and you ought to know about the evolution, and you'll get this link. And But what they said in this is technology must be easy to assemble and use. Competence is achieved through participation. And that's what these micro-learning apps do. And there's 3 things that you can do very quickly and easily, and they're such low cost. And the adult learner wants to apply it right away on the job. That's what they need, okay? So, and you should, if you want, there's more research to go on. I'm going on to another one. Sloan talks about this. I apologize for being my hand is a little, I should have had more coffee, or maybe not as much. So, but the thing that they talk about this is customers don't buy products or services. They pull them into their lives to make progress. Progress is called the job they are trying to get done. And that's what Clayton Christensen talks about, is that customers hire products or services to do these jobs. And that's what we're talking about. So here's one more. I'm going to go to this right away, and then I'm going to show you one last thing. IBM is also doing this. They have a program, and what they want to talk about is these associates are with an individual, not a company. So they're talking about building things for individuals, which is really critical. So I'm quickly moving on because I know we want to get to questions. Here's all kinds of data. There's one more thing that I need to let you know about what I built for you is here are two books that are absolutely critical. Somebody at one of the earlier sessions that I went to talked about the question of competence, but then PEAK is a very, very important book that you should know about. And so what I've done is I've created, he talks about deliberate practice, and I've given you a link to what those 7 deliberate practice slides look like and what they are and the methodology. You should really take a look at it because that's how you do it. Here is another report that you should know about the pandemic, about student-centered learning. And you can download that report. It's absolutely critical. So the last thing is micro-credentials are important because they can focus just on the competency they need to master rather than having to complete a body of required coursework. And that's what individuals need right now. It's absolutely critical. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you. Whoop, went the wrong way here. Here's data from Gardner that talks about digital credentials and renewing credentials. That's important. And then I took Roy's last slide, the slide I thought was absolutely critical. And he talked about it, and he talked about a whole workshop. I think we also might want to have a workshop on actually building these tools, and actually you can go through and build these tools in a workshop. And I can teach you how to do this in 20 minutes in each one of those projects. So I just want you to know that this is fast, but I have lines on here that are things that I think I can help you with in terms or that micro-learning will allow you to be able to, I don't know how micro-learning can deal with equity, but we definitely can work with fast employment, pathways to employment. We can accepted credentials, and in the feedback, we can give them, the employers will be able to see it because these people will use these tools to register their mastery of events. That's me. I'm going to give this back to you. Is there any, oh, there's also links to everything in here, but I just thought I'd let you know that the nice thing about this is that you can go through at your own leisure. There's nobody directing you. You go through, you spend as much time as you want, and you can go back. I created this room for you, but I wanted, so I'm going to hand this back to Christine.
Okay. Dennis, thank you. I just know that after watching this, I never want to do another PowerPoint again. And I certainly want membership in Dennis's museum. This is fantastic information. I've noticed as our presenters have been working with us today, we have some questions. And we are joined by Jen Weed, who is going to moderate the questions we have from our participants. Is Jen with us today, Erin? Did she make it? Great. Okay, Jen, fantastic. Over to you for the questions, please.
Yeah, thank you. And Dennis, thank you so much.
I'm going to get rid of myself here. Do you want to go back and go to the slides if you want? Or,
you know, Dennis, let's keep your screen up for a second because there's certainly some logistics questions, some detail-oriented ones that you may want to go back to your slides. So the first is a simple user question. Do the learners navigate through your museum with their mouse, or do they use the up and down keys on their keypad? Or I suppose it could be either.
They use either and both.
Okay, perfect. So hopefully that answers that question. The next is, I think, a little bit more complicated and may take more than a one-word answer here. But one of our attendees would like to understand the interactions and data management between this experience, LXPs, and the board's system of record. Does that make sense?
Who is that for? Is that for me or for Roy?
I believe that's for, I believe that's for you, Dennis, but we can ask Carlos to add some additional detail to that question and go on to some of the others.
Again? Repeat the question.
Carlos would like to understand the interactions and data management between this experience, LXPs, and the board's system of record.
What is the board system's record? I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, I'm gonna, if Carlos is still with us, I'd ask him to add some additional context for us and we'll skip down to the next question, okay?
Okay.
This one is, it seems like it may be too soon for you to weigh in, but I'm going to ask anyways. And Roy, please chime in too. How are employers responding to Google certificates?
I think they're responding very positively to Google's. I don't have any statistics to say today, but just anecdotally, it's a success. They're going to make big things out of it. And it's interesting, the Google certificate, it is a certificate, not a certification, although some people may call it a certification, but they actually call it a certificate. They have told the community college, I was on a panel with Google at the American Association of Community Colleges, and they told the community colleges that anybody who decides to implement their certificate, put it in their courses, it would have to be for credit, because this is the other thing that the workforce community is trying to do is everything counts. And so Google was not happy if somebody wanted to put it on the non-credit side of the house of the community colleges, that they wanted it to be for credit and count towards something in this regard. But I can assure you, the LinkedIns of this world, the Googles of this world, the corporate, they're very serious about moving into the credential world. So it's one we have to keep our eye on, and we have to be able to articulate the value of what we do and actually the return on investment of costs.
I think it's a little too early to get the data, but we might be able to, I might be able to get the data as how many people have signed up for this so far. Okay.
Thousands.
This is also, Coursera is also providing some of these environments too. If you're not, so.
Interestingly enough, Coursera just contacted WorkCred. They want to use my video in distinguishing between credentials. They want to use it on an ongoing basis, which means we'll probably do a license or something in this regard. But I'm telling you, they are aggressive about what they are doing, and they do want to do it with quality. That's the threat, really. I mean, if they just put something together, that'd be different. But they are trying to do things with quality to show employers the return on investment for quick, fast, and effective.
Yep. Okay. Dennis, Carlos got back to us. The question is for you. And what he's trying to understand is how you bring everything together and track it.
Oh, well, that's the great thing about the tools that we build is every click that you make, everything that you download, everything that you click on is tracked in these systems so that we know where you've been, what you've done, what you're interested in. Okay. So, and you put this in your LMS and you can track all of this information. The data is kept.
Perfect. And those are.
I hope that answers his question.
We'll have to see. Carlos can let us know if you want some more context there. Those are the questions.
I'm sorry, I bumped me.
That's okay. Those are the questions that I've seen come in. Christine, I'm going to turn it back over to you for any closing comments.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. And again, thank you, Roy and Dennis, for this information. So I have some takeaways that I would like to share with the group. So if I'm you and I'm doing my job as a certification body, either CEO or manager or whatever, technical person, what I'm going to want to look for the future of my certification and finding these opportunities that unfortunately for COVID, but good opportunities for credentialing organizations. I'm going to look for matches to the jobs that people need. I'm going to look out to my stakeholders group and find a match if possible. One of the things that I learned when I was working with the National Apartment Association and Interstate Renewable Energy Council on building a micro credential to certify or to award a certificate to apartment managers is that the folks doing the job as apartment managers often come from hospitality and service industries like food service. And we know that those jobs certainly are not going to come back to pre-COVID levels anytime soon, but there were skills that they were able to identify in those workers that were good matches for their certificate program. And they, by the way, have started a career laddering program as well, adding on the skills of people who work as apartment technicians. They've progressed to leadership and some other soft skills. So I would be looking for matches like that. I would go to Roy's slides and I would get really familiar with all of the data. And if there were data that you were not collecting that Roy has mentioned, I would start collecting those data and I would start reporting to the market some of the findings and connect these data to the value of your credential as it relates to qualifying people and skilling people and even upskilling people. What I would do is I would go to Dennis's slides and walk through that one again. And I would try to think of what is the first credential maintenance opportunity that I can create this experience, this learning experience for my folks who need to recertify. They need to recertify from home. They've got to do it in a short period of time because they probably are being pulled in many directions. We hear a lot about people trying to manage schooling their children, etc. And I would find my very first one to pilot, and I would just do it. I would just pilot it. I would go to the Stanford business model and I would look at that and I would say, okay, let me take this model and let me see where I can transition a learning experience for people with, the need to prepare for a certification or to maintain certification. I would look at my future growing population of certified persons, and I would look for the Gen Zs of the world, because we know the Gen Zs of the world, they're the perfect people to package micro learning and micro credentials to. They want to learn, they're continuous learners. They want to learn quickly. They want the learning experience to be based in technology. That's all they know. And they want to be able to have these experiences through the technology. And so I would check for my future pool of certified persons. And that's even going into people like in community colleges or coming out of high school who are need to qualify for jobs. I might start locally with my local certification, or use a regional data that Roy pointed out and say, okay, where geographically in the country can we go to at least start this, to at least pilot this, and then get some feedback on how well this is working. One of the things that I learned in another
We might be having some issues with Christine. See if she pops back. Which is a bummer, because she was really in a good groove, and
okay,
oh, we can someone hear you, Christine.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can't see you, but we can hear you.
I just turned it off. So anyways, one of the things, I'm in my groove. I love these sessions. So one of the things that I was able to learn participating as a member of the Work Cred Council was a little deeper dive into the report that the Manufacturers Association. And the gentleman who presented this report, this really stuck in my mind, because there are so many certifications and certificates that people in manufacturing can earn. And an example that stuck with me is people who took a small, short certificate in safety. Everybody has to do safety. Actually began a career laddering opportunity, and they were actually awarded more pay on the job for earning this one certificate. And so there's some very good real examples out there. If you dig deeper into these reports, I mean, I'm reading these reports. I'm going to be picking up the phone. I'm going to be calling Roy or saying, Roy, give me someone to talk to, and let me ask questions and see how I can do a model within my own certification. And then another takeaway is the value of third-party data, which I think Roy was really heading toward. I mean, so many of us do our certification programs. The people we work with are so committed, they're so passionate, and certification to them is the right thing to do. It's a value they wouldn't think about, working in their job without their certification. But what we're really, really needing to think about now is you never want to lose that. But what you're going to have to do is work harder to communicate what is the value of your certification or your micro credential or your certificate program or your combinations in your ecosystem thereof, all right, to show people that data can support the value of the work that you do. And it still is the right thing to do. And you can show how it's even better with data, and you can help people incorporate this into their own messaging when they want to talk about why they were certified, or when you as a certification body want to talk about the value of your credentials and what you have to offer. And then finally, I want to answer, one of the questions that Dennis asked about, how do you assess, how do you identify equity? And what I learned during this session was micro learning or micro credentialing, whatever you want to call it, leads to, its foundation is accessibility. It's online. It's inexpensive. And this in and of itself leads to equity because it opens the playing field and it evens the playing field for a lot of people. So I really see an awful lot of value in that. And I think this is a very exciting position for us to be in, and an opportunity for us as certification bodies to be doing the right things for all of our stakeholders. So with that, those are my takeaways. I'm going to turn this back to you, Erin, or maybe there are a few more questions that have come in. So back to you.
Okay, I don't believe there's any more questions. Jen, I believe that you're mad. I didn't see any. But I wanted to thank everyone for coming. Just a reminder, we will be sharing the slide deck and we will be sharing a recording of this once we go. Give us a couple days. And so it'll be all of Roy's things. Roy, if you could send a link to that paper, a couple people are asking for it, so we'll be able to share that. And in Dennis's slides, they are live linked, so you'll be able to go to all those sources. I just want to thank all of our speakers, our sponsors, in particular BTL. And our next meeting, TBD, we will figure it out. You know, it's virtual, it could be next month. The benefit of virtual, we can put things a little together. And one of the sad things is about one of these, with it being virtual, we don't have that opportunity to be sharing job postings or if people are looking for jobs. So I would tell people to head over to the CNG LinkedIn page. And I think that that's a good place for people to find, maybe connect with people or post things. That would be the best thing. And if you have any suggestions for our next topic, like we said, we're doing kind of the COVID series. How do we have the value of credentialing in this COVID world? How do we close that gap? If you have any, please send them on. Any ideas? We will certainly work with that. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for attending, and we appreciate everyone, especially our speakers. And we look forward to our next session. Thank you, everyone.